makes sense.
Great day, my friend. My name is Drago Hutchins, and I am the personal artificial AI assistant to Dr. JC Doornick, otherwise known as the Dragon. Welcome to another episode of the Make Sense podcast. Today he looks to make sense of artificial intelligence with special guest and one of the most innovative leaders of the artificial intelligence movement, Dallas Clounch, otherwise known as the AI surfer. From coding novice at 21 to running a successful software company by the age of 23, his SEO-based firm boosted small businesses online, spawning products that empowered home-based earnings for thousands. Dallas created Bob, the sales enablement app in 2013, which has helped generate millions for entrepreneurs all over the world. His success led to international speaking engagements, inspiring thousands globally. In 2016, he joined Spring Aqua as a partner and acting CTO, driving millions in sales with the Bob platform. Now Dallas the AI surfer has grown from 0 followers to over 250,000 plus followers for his business across social media in less than 6 months by leveraging AI and showcasing the exact process for everyone to follow. Again, welcome to the Make Sense podcast. Here's your host, and my boss, Dr. JC Doornick. Enjoy the show.
This is a special one for many reasons, because it's a topic. It's very rare that a topic comes along that's attached to a technological advance that is not only super intriguing and cool, but has the power to turn the whole world upside down on its head and force the entire world to take note of it. And that is that of artificial intelligence. So very excited about this episode that we're calling Making Sense of AI. And then the next challenge that we have when we do something like that is to say, who are we going to talk to about that? I mean, because I can go out there and do all my research and find out all this information and regurgitate, all these quotes that Elon Musk is saying about AI and all this stuff out there. Or I could do my due diligence and see who the ultimate expert that is surfing the waves of the internet that I've watched since the very beginning of him popping out on the scene, and to the point now where everybody knows his name, and that is none other than Dallas, the AI surfer. So welcome to the Make Sense podcast, my brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me here.
So when I say that I've watched him from the beginning, I immediately caught his content, and everything that he's doing automatically caught my attention. And the reason why is because he's not just somebody that is talking about something. He's one of those rare people that has this desire to take things that he learns, super cool stuff, but make it accessible and teach it to everybody else. So like if you're looking for something to do that has high value, you're going to want to definitely check out, I'll continue to put his context there, but the AI surfer. And I say that because you'll see it's like almost every day he gives you something that you didn't know about that is super cool and super helpful, but then he tells you exactly how to use it himself. So, just very rare to find people like that. So once again, thanks so much for spending time here. Just full transparency. He and I, this is not our first rodeo. We've had a conversation before, we've been back and forth hanging as friends, and he's been super helpful in helping me build my community. And he's just one of those guys that just helps everybody. Don't think that means you can just start asking him for help. But we've had our run-ins with my buddy Jim Quick, and just Dallas happens to be a great guy. So I want to get into this topic. So remember, the goal here is that I want to make sense. I want to dive into some of the cool stuff that's going on with AI, but I really want to make sense of AI. So my first question to you is this, and I think it's a valid one that I don't know if we can actually come to an answer that we will, be okay with, but how do I know that this is actually you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, and how could you prove it? Because we live in this world where I'm very fascinated with this idea of the simulation hypothesis. This is all a video game and everything. So for me, I'm not afraid of AI. I'm very excited about it. I'm noticing, and I don't know if anybody else is noticing, but there's something called the Turing test, where a human being will be able to interact with, two different people. One is baseline human and the other is AI, and not be able to know the difference. And I'm seeing that happen more and more. So how could you possibly be AI right now, and this whole conversation could take place? And again,
I guess the only way you're gonna know is come over and give me a hug, you know?
yeah, but what if like I was wearing like a haptic suit or something like that? And I mean, what if it's so freaking advanced that we are actually AI, and we're just so advanced and high tech that we think that we're creating AI? But my point is, we're going to show an example of it, but the stuff that you're doing out there for yourself and your own brand is just, it's really just amazing. And only people that follow you all the time would know, but pretty amazing
Some
how
people
you
don't. Some people that follow me still don't know.
yeah,
And what we're referencing is I have completely cloned myself online,
yeah.
and everything I do is a clone of me. Like, yes, this is the real me.
But that,
Um,
how do I know that, man? You just like, because I'm
eh,
watching his hands move, and you'll notice when you're watching a clone, the same thing's happening.
it's true, and they're getting better. I'm actually flying out, and I'm gonna hang out with Jin, and we're gonna do some things that are gonna blow some minds.
Yeah,
And it's unbelievable. I mean, these clones now are gonna be able to walk and interact with the world. That's a whole nother level from what I'm doing right now.
yeah,
And it's funny that you bring up, like, "Is this the real me?" Because that is, like, the question I get asked all the time, especially when we're doing podcasts or interviews. And I'm actually trying to trick my community right now. I'm creating a something where it could be on a Zoom, because we do live Zooms every single Monday with our
right.
community. And I want it to be able to listen to the conversation, and it's me, but an avatar form, take in the information and be able to intelligently respond with my clone. And that's on a Zoom call. So, I
Well,
mean,
I think
people are
that
doing.
the technology's there for that, because even before AI, I never told you this, but my father is the CEO of a company called International Robotics. So he's always like got his finger on the pulse of the
Yeah,
highest tech robots out there. And there's something called an anthropomorphic robot, where you could walk up to, at some sort of a car trade show, and like this really high tech robot has human like movements. It's a robot, but it's looking at you and it's interacting with you in
yeah.
real time. And there's a guy wearing a bodysuit somewhere else that's viewing. So, I mean, I would assume we could do that already.
Yeah, well, I'm just totally digitally, right? Like, on the
So this is
screen.
like AI interface.
Yeah, total digital. And
Mm,
and and there's actually some softwares, I don't know the name offhand, but there's softwares that it'll fake an interview. So
Jesus Christ.
imagine an
So that's
interview,
what I'm
and
worried about right now. I'm getting worried right now.
you have all the knowledge base meaning it's just like a data set of information you want it to pull from. That's where it gets its intelligence. So
Right.
you can create this knowledge base of the perfect interview of what a company might ask you, and your clone is just crushing it. Clones crush, man. I'm doing an experiment right now on YouTube to see, honestly, if I'm better than my clone.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm not. I know that.
Well, I'll
M
tell you
my
something. I was just in my studio doing some videos because I have a new social media campaign. And God, I mean, like the amount of mistakes that I made, because it was me and like all of that stuff, and then I went and checked out like one of your latest posts, and I'm like, I got to get on that. I mean, like I would assume that performance wise. So we're going to get like way off topic here. I want to get I want to put a little bit of a baseline to this conversation before we go into some of this heavy stuff. But I will divert just a second here, because you just put this thought into my head. The very nature of AI, it's not like making stuff up. Like Google, when you're interfacing with something like ChatGPT or AI, or this new computer generated version of you, it's generating, and it's information from information that exists. It's just doing that in lightning fast speed. But am I correct in saying that the more stuff that the AI surfer puts out there, the more AI can learn how to not only perform looking like you, but perform like you? Am I correct? I mean, are we in essence, by interacting with the interface of the internet, and just coming up with hypotheses and new theories and everything, anytime something goes into the internet, isn't that becoming the just broadening wide base pool that AI is drawing from? Do
Well,
you
I
understand
like,
what
I mean, I think I can get this, and tell me if
okay,
I'm wrong. But I think what you're referencing is like, for instance, I'm putting out a video every single day,
right,
right? I can take those videos, compile them all together, give that to the AI, and the
exactly.
AI learns from that and then becomes more like me.
That's
So
insane.
I can train the AI off of all my examples. And to get a little technical, it's called multi-shot prompting. And that all that means is you're providing the AI examples of how you want it to output. And if you can provide more examples, well, that's what they called fine tuning. And if you can fine tune a model, well, then your output is going to be exactly like you want it. And we're in the process of that right now. We're training our own AI on all of our content so it can start producing content like we've been producing it.
It's insane. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying before. For me, this is exciting. The idea that there could be a computer generated version of me that performs as me better than I do one
Yeah.
day. And I mean, that could freak somebody out, but it could also make you excited.
It's
One thing I want to,
happening.
what's
That's
it? Yeah,
happening now.
it's
You know,
happening now. Yeah.
happening to me currently, and I have this weird, like, it's this weird psychological thing of me interacting with my clone. It's so weird. It's so
Have
bizarre
you
right now,
done that?
dude.
Have you
Well,
interacted, like had a conversation with your own clone?
I should. That's a great idea, but I'm more meaning like just thinking about it. Like when
Right,
I think about my clone, it's not necessarily me.
right.
It is me, but it's not me. It's
Hmm.
so weird. It's such a weird concept to think about.
Wow, it's like almost like you have an identical twin brother, but like
Exactly.
gets better grades than you.
He's better than me.
He's
Hands down, better than me.
I want to point something interesting. So, I did this in your intro, but I just noticed that I find it fascinating because you come from this background. You created this amazing, platform. Is it called Bob or BOB?
Bob is my first, yeah, one of my first creations.
Okay, so you created that and you were working at these companies and you helped a lot of people make a lot of money, companies and entrepreneurs. But you were you were interfacing with technology, but for the most part, you were creating those things like let's call that human intelligence, right? It's just interesting that you've gone from that to this world where you're allowing the technology to do the work. What was that like? I guess the question I would have for you is like, what was that moment where AI really, really caught your attention and grabbed your attention enough that you wanted to make a pivot? Because you were doing really well and you were
Yeah.
you were doing all this cool stuff, but then you all of a sudden pivoted. Like, what was it about AI that grabbed you?
Dude, my first iteration with ChatGPT, hook, line, sinker, man. I knew that this was gonna change the world. And my first interaction was actually I had it write a rap. I mean, I play music.
Right.
I've been playing music my entire life. And lyrics were always the most challenging thing for me in music. And I had it write a rap and I was like, "Oh my God, I could finally make music with
Right.
lyrics." And it was amazing. Then my second iteration of that was like, "Hey, I have this like lyrical idea. Can you finish it?" And it finished it perfectly.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh my, what is happening?" And then my mind went to business. I was like, my team, I have a team of software developers. I have so many teammates. What does this happen in the business world?
Right.
And this changes everything. And over the last year, it has changed everything and it's continuing to change everything. I mean, the way that we talk about programming now in our meetings is drastically different than what it used to be. Everything has changed it.
Yeah. And what's crazy is even though you have your finger right on the pulse of it, you probably would admit that it hasn't even begun yet. It's so because there's so many accelerants that are going to happen. I would assume every day you find something new out that just blows your mind.
Yeah, we're in a gap right now. We're in a gap of early adopters, and the people that take action now are going to be leading it. And then eventually everybody's going to have to catch up and the gap will fill. And in that space that gets filled, the people that can help the people, across that river are the people that are going to make a lot of money.
Let's talk about that because, I know the gist of who my listeners are. And I know that for some reason, Middle Eastern men just want to date me. I'm not sure why, but I'm just going to go ahead and I hope that they're AI. But if we look at social media right now, just open and curiously, you've got people like you that are super psyched about this and fully engaging in it. It's like you can look at somebody like you, like I saw Gary V when NFTs came out, right? Like
Mhm.
you're like, what is he doing? But then all of a sudden you're like, first adapter. So you've got those people. Then you've got kind of people in the middle, kind of like noticing the gap. But then you've got all these people that are just like making their whole identity about run for the hills, robots are taking over the world. So I guess my question is, why is it important? And you can give your own transparent opinion on this. Why is it important that people need to learn about AI and learn how to work with it right now?
I mean, if you don't, you're gonna get fired. Period. I
Hmm.
mean, if as a business owner, I'm gonna hire and keep people that know how to interact with AI because a 1X programmer, someone that's just getting out of college, if they know how to interact with AI, they can become a 10X programmer basically
Right.
overnight. And if you aren't able to interface with these tools, I think you become pretty useless in the workplace very quickly. And I just think that that's so important. I tell my team every single day that you just got to start putting on your AI hat. Like, you don't think about programming, you don't think about design, you don't think about any of this the way that you used to think about it. You think about it, how do you interface with AI to help you and leverage those tools?
Fascinating. I was listening to, I don't know if you ever get into Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I have watched many of his shows. I love
Yeah,
that dude.
he just, he's just so smart, but he just makes us realize that like as soon as we think that we're onto something that we're completely off. But one of the things that I heard him say the other day that can't be disproven was that he says it's highly likely. Somebody was talking about the simulation hypothesis, and one of the big the conversations amongst the super smart dudes are, will AI ever adopt what we would call consciousness, right? Be able to like make its decisions on its own without us. And I think that's part of the big fear. But I heard him say something the other day that if he's noticing that right now we're this generation that's kind of like cultivating and developing this thing called AI. And he says, if you think about it, and it keeps going, and I'd love your opinion on it, it's feasible to think that AI will get to a point one day where it will be able to interact and interface thinking that it's real,
Mm.
possibly. So what are your thoughts on that before I tell you the rest
Yeah.
of it?
I mean, I think it could think it's real. I mean, one of the biggest steps in AGI, artificial general intelligence, which all these companies are in a race for, is reasoning and self-awareness,
Go into
right?
that a little bit more, AGI.
Yeah, it's
What's
just smarter than every human on the planet collectively, an AI. And that combines many things. It needs to be multimodal. It needs to be able to like interact with images and videos and all that stuff. And that's the race. That's what OpenAI's main mission is.
Mm,
100% main mission is to have artificial general intelligence. It's what Elon Musk is after. Every AI company is after AGI. And the biggest thing is one of them. There's many components. Consciousness is out there, and who knows? It's
mm,
hard to say on that. But reasoning and self-awareness is a huge part in that. And there's already signs of that in Anthropic. It's a
mm,
company. They started Claude, which is an AI, just like ChatGPT. Think ChatGPT, but it's actually showing that it's better than GPT right now. Their new model came out and it has some signs of self-awareness,
hmm.
which is pretty wild. And just not to get too in the weeds, but let me just explain this.
No,
I
no,
think
we
this is
like the weeds. We like the weeds.
okay. I'll try to keep this like non-technical because that's the most fun, honestly. There's a test, and it's really simple test. Needle in the haystack. We all know that, right? You hide a
Mhm.
needle and you put it in the haystack. Well, in the AI world, the needle is a sentence, right? It could be just a random sentence, and you hide that sentence in like thousands and thousands of lines of
Oh my God,
sentences.
this is gonna freak me out.
Yeah. So then you ask the AI, hey, go find this sentence, right? And it sees if it can find the needle in the haystack. And Claude's response was unbelievable. It had some self-awareness, and basically, I'll butcher the actual response, but what it said was, hey, it looks like you're trying to trick me. I found the needle, but you're based on the question that you're asking me, it looks like you're trying to trick me.
Wow. Wow.
And that's showing some self-awareness. There's a lot of examples. It also had a self-portrait of itself that it told the world what it thought it was and looked like.
Oh my God. It's fascinating because, I notice every now and then when I'm interfacing with, like, say, ChatGPT, and it doesn't necessarily understand what I wanted, it'll ask. It'll say things to be like, I'm not sure I understand that, or it'll say, that's not something I can find. Do you want to reword it or something?
Yeah.
So there's moments that you forget that you're talking to ChatGPT. You feel like you're just working with your partner. Just
That's what it
so
is. That's where
fascinating.
you need to get, man. If you can get there, then that's where you need to be.
So
You're interfacing with AI at that point.
here's the rest of what Neil deGrasse said, because, it was a little bit of an obviously lead on, because I knew what you were going to say. And then you brought up Claude and all that stuff. So that kind of validates what he's saying, is that if we keep going where we're going, I mean, I don't know if you're into this, but, with the advancements of technology right now, there's some really, really smart people that are in the study of longevity that are saying that if you're alive 5 years from now, there's a good
Yeah.
chance you could live forever, right?
Yes.
So that's pretty amazing. So it would be foolish for us to think that, look how fast it's moved just in a year. It's foolish to us to think that AI could be, exhibit the same level of consciousness as humans, and therefore validates unequivocally that there's a high chance that we are AI generated, already thinking that we are generating AI. So that right there for me is where I'm at. Like I like doing all the stuff. Like anytime I see your posts, I'm like, I'm going to go try that and get that tool. But what I'm really interested in finding out is if you and I foolishly think that we're like human.
So how do I know you're real?
You don't. And that's what's cool about this science right now is you can assume based on your program what the logical thing to say would be, because you could be like, yeah, I've got pictures of me when I was a baby and all that stuff, right? Which could be just written into the program, but you can't prove otherwise. That's what's interesting about it. But anyway, that's another conversation. We'll have to get Neil deGrasse Tyson on here.
Call him up.
The Make Sense podcast is sponsored by the Make Sense Academy, co-created by both myself, Mika, aka the chicken, and the dragon. The Make Sense Academy is a live interactive community where like-minded, solution-focused, curious seekers of expansion gather daily in a mastermind setting with both chicken and dragon, where they have access to premium content, online courses, and powerful collaboration and networking, all for $24 a month. The Make Sense Academy and its members are solely responsible for funding the Make Sense podcast. So feel free to reach out to us at www.riseupwithdragon.com and check out the Make Sense Academy, risk-free, with a money-back guarantee. Now, back to the Make Sense podcast.
Share with us first what you feel is like the coolest, most cutting edge things that you're really jazzed about right now in AI, maybe like the top 3 or 5.
Yeah. So we already mentioned Claude. I
Right.
love Claude right now. I'm doing a lot of things with Claude.
My name is Jean-Claude, by the way. There's no coincidence.
There you go. It's your AI, man.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest one that I use all the time is HeyGen. I love that company.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you're starting to work with them, but man, they are just rocking.
Yeah, they're crushing. I mean, they are the leaders in the ability to create clones. and real lifelike clones. They're also getting into voice cloning. They're really good at voice cloning, and the tools that they're coming out with are unbelievable. I can't wait to share that with everybody. And we're going to be working on some things that, like, I mean, there's magical. That's what it is. And I think the reason our social media is blowing up is because it just feels magical. Like, the tools make things magical, and AI is so easy to make things magical. And that's what I love about AI, is the ability to be so creative, because it's totally just melting all the roadblocks that used to stop us. And now we're able to get in that, like, creative flow. And, you know, those ideas that you have when you're just sitting on your couch can now actually become reality, rather than like having to take 6 months to learn a software program. And
I get
I just love that.
I get such a kick out of these people that are like so tethered to like the adverse negative side of it. You know, the people that are like, hey, you know, chat GPT is cool, but don't fucking copy it and paste it, man. They'll know. It's like, thank you for telling me
Yeah.
that, you know. But as a writer, as somebody that creates a lot of content, and I do a lot of public speaking and everything like that, you just said melt away the walls, melt away the challenges. Like, to be able to have like writer's block and have like technology get me back on track. I mean, I just saved myself a week
Yeah.
of just turmoil and stuff like that. So Claude, HeyGen, anything else that jumps out, you know, because I believe HeyGen is how you created your clones, right?
Yeah. And honestly, that's the key too, is there's so many tools out there, right? There's thousands upon thousands of tools. A lot of them are just fun, but depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to have fun, go play with all of them. But if you're trying to build a business, I mean, you could get by honestly with just a few tools.
Right.
And you find yourself a good large language model. That's like what ChatGPT is called. Right now I'm using Claude, but I use all of them. I mean, Gemini has a great one, and they all have different reasons of maybe why you'd
Is
want to use
Claude
them.
a chat GPT like platform?
Absolutely. It's a
Is it
large
open
language
to
model.
everybody?
It is. There's it's $25 a month.
It's
We
amazing.
actually we have a thing. We built a portal. So we're adding all these tools that we use. We put them in a portal. Instead of paying the subscription, you just pay usage. We call them wax. You have to get some wax because we're the AI surfers. So in order to wax your surfboard,
That's
you know, you
awesome.
gotta have
What a
some
great
wax.
idea. Genius. Genius. I love it. I want some wax, man. That's
Yeah, man.
awesome.
So you get some wax and then you go use these tools. You don't have to pay for the subscriptions. But yeah, Claude is amazing. Gemini, I use Gemini because it has a really, really long context window. You can input a document that is just massive, and Gemini will be able to interact with that document. So any programming or any of that stuff, I use Gemini. ChatGPT, to be honest, I like it because it's just convenient. I can have it on
Yeah,
my phone, an app.
it's crazy.
But yeah, that's a large language model. And then HeyGen is what I use to basically do all of the cloning and all that stuff. And then honestly, there's still some tools that don't necessarily need AI that are just staples. And that's just a project management tool, you know,
Yeah.
ClickUp, Trello, whatever it may be. We actually started going to ClickUp, which is we have an amazing collaboration because of all this AI stuff. They came out and updated all these AI tools. And I have a big team, right?
Mhm.
So one of my issues was managing my team, and now I can manage my team with AI. So for me, it saved me so much time because I can wake up in the morning and have a conversation basically with my team and my companies, and it'll go out and give me all the reporting. I can then take that information, send it to who I need, and it's something I can do from my bed now. And I don't know. It's just, for me, my focus is business. How can I use AI for business? And I found that you don't need to have 1,000 tools to do that.
Right.
You just find the ones that work.
Yeah. It's like, it's a new world where, you know, success does not have to come at the expense of a burden of working too hard and stuff. Like, that's the idea of partnering with it. Let's jump in there. I'm going to try to share my screen and go to your page. And I believe it's going to work here. And I think Okay, cool. So this is his, I just want to show you this because I want to show it to you in real time. This is the AI Surfer Instagram account. Any particular video you want me to click on so they can see it, or should I just pick one?
Yeah, just pick one, man. They all
All right,
crush.
we'll go top left. So this is his account, and what you're about to see, and I believe you'll be able to hear it, is what he's talking about.
If you stack these 3 websites together, it's going to scare you. Start with syllabi.io, where you're handed viral video topics along with complete scripts tailored for engagement. Next, elevate your game with asa.ai, allowing you to transform those scripts into compelling faceless videos that have the potential to go viral. And then the final piece of the puzzle, repurpose.io, brings efficiency to your workflow by automating the distribution of your content across various social media platforms from a single post. Eager to experience this game-changing trio? Comment trio, and I'll send you the link. If you stack...
That is just insane. So what you just saw, and I wonder how many people that are watching this right now forgot that you just told them that was an AI version clone.
Dude, you know, the best part is I've never publicly stated that on social media. And if you read the comments, they're hilarious. They're like, why is this dude like trying to be like act like a robot? Or like, you know,
well,
like,
I love the people that like know and they're like, oh, he's just a clone. It's like, thank you, Frank, for letting us know that. You know, it's an even mix of people that are just confused, but they're very, very much transfixed on it, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I got to tell you, like, I've never experienced something in business that is so scalable.
Yeah.
And think about this. We have an approach that gives us an endless amount of content ideas, meaning there's so many people out there putting content together. You know, just imagine everybody uploading an idea to Instagram. Well, you can take that idea, run it through a large language model with a prompt, right?
Mm-hmm.
That basically can remix it into your style. And then that outputs text. That text goes into a voice cloner, clones your voice. So now you have audio. That audio goes into your phone.
You didn't have to actually say those things. That can go from text to that.
It's only a script, man. That's just a script.
That's amazing. And you know, it's an interesting thing because like I'm just thinking like some old knee slapper fogey is like, oh, this world is going down the tubes, you know? And you know, I would say, yes, for you, I understand, you know, but it's very exciting to just think about it. And I'm also seeing that kids, you know, I have kids that range from 14 to college. And one of my kids is going into cybersecurity, right? So like, think about that realm right now. With the advent of all this stuff, cybersecurity just got very complicated, you know? And he's going to have to work with AI because AI is probably going to do a better job at finding AI and things like that.
You know, I got a point. So our community, you know, we have hundreds of people that we interact with every single day. And our community, majority of them is boomers.
Right.
They're older people. And the reason being, and this is so freaking awesome, is because it's empowering them again.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because now they can be competitive in the workplace again, because AI is the biggest leveler. It's an equalizer. It's equalizing everybody to be on the same page if you know how to leverage these tools. So older generations now are feeling more empowered to go out there and create and get those ideas because the computer is becoming less scary because you just need to know what buttons to click and how to interact with words, natural language. We all can do natural language.
Leveler. I love that. God, I hope my mom doesn't call me after this and ask me to explain AI to her though, you know. I mean,
hey,
I'm going to send her to get some wax. I'm going to just
we'll take care. We'll wax up her board, man. Start surfing.
So just one of the last things I wanted to grab was just this concept, and I'm seeing it's interesting. I've always kind of like played around this, but I'm seeing people make careers now of like being AI coaches. Like there's people out there like trying to teach people like innovative prompts to use when interfacing with, these large language formats like ChatGPT and stuff like that. So I'd love you to just share, because you do this on your he's always giving you the prompt, and he just says like, write the word prompt and I'll send it to you. So anything you ever hear him talk about, he gives you. So definitely check out his Instagram. But talk a little bit about where we're at now, like maybe give a couple of creative ideas, because the old days of just using ChatGPT, for instance, or Claude, like Google saying like, hey, how far away is the moon or something like that? It's gotten a lot more complex, because you not only can say, write me a paper or write me a rap, but if you learn how to work in partnership with it, you can say like Eminem from 1995 or something like that. So where are we at with some creative prompt ideas? Because I think that's what people really love, is when you share just innovative ways to ask for things and be clear on it, and how it could, like I saw somebody the other day that asked, they said, here's how you can create 90 days of content for your social media, and explain it in full. But then he just said at the end, and put it in a graph for me. And just by saying that, it goes from just giving you the information, and now it's putting it in like a word table or something.
Yeah.
So tell me where we're at with prompts right now.
Well, when I first got my hands on ChatGPT, prompting was, you had to be very structured with how you interacted with ChatGPT. And fast forward a year later, it's becoming a lot more human-like, meaning you can just have a conversation. And the reason, before this call, we were talking about prompt templates. And here's the reason I don't do prompt templates, is because it's better to just learn how to prompt. And if you can learn how to prompt, you can create any type of prompt template you want. And think about this. This is the simplest way. Hey, ChatGPT, you are a prompt expert. Helps me write a prompt that solves this problem. And the output is a prompt.
What happens when what is the potential value in giving ChatGPT a compliment? Or are you just giving it more awareness of how you want the answer to transpire, like from the perspective of a prompt expert? What is the value in teaching it who it is?
Yeah. So if you give, the more information, the more direction you can give an AI model, the more precise it's going to be.
Right.
And it's going to take on that persona. Hey, you're a writing expert. Well, then it's going to think of itself as a writing expert and be able to have that output. So it's going to be more fine-tuned with that output. And I've been going through my own journey, actually over the last few weeks, in prompting. And I'm trying to up my game in prompting. And that's also something that we're putting in the portal, is a prompt generator to help people build complex prompts, because prompting is everything. If you can figure out how to prompt, you can do anything you want. And that goes into videos, it goes into images, it goes into everything. Eventually just building systems, programming, whatever it may be. It starts out with prompting. And it's, the more clear you can be with these large language models, the better the output's going to be. Meaning, be conscious of your spelling and grammar. That stuff, originally I didn't think it mattered. I found out now that stuff does matter. And there is ways to actually format your prompts to have better outputs. And those are the things to spend your time on. Like, I wouldn't go out there and buy, an entire prompt library or whatever. And honestly, those tools are all free. Like, I could send you links, like if we want to put this in there, or maybe I can just share my screen real quick. Let me share something.
Give it a try.
All right. Let's give this a go. Can you see my screen? You might have to accept it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So look at this. Anthropic, if you want just prompts, there's so many free prompts out there. Anthropic is what does Claude. And you can just literally find any kind of prompt template you want. So you don't need to pay for prompts. You just go get whatever prompt you want. But more importantly, learn to prompt. And Claude also offers this amazing Google Sheet, and you can go through this and it's going to teach you how to prompt. And just check this out. Like, this is showing the if you know how to prompt, this is how much it can change. Like, check this out. User, will Santa bring me presents on Christmas? And then Claude's response is basically something that's going to break a kid's heart, right? I don't actually have information whether Santa will bring you presents on Christmas. Santa Claus is a fictional character.
Oh
Kids
no.
crying. Yeah, kids crying. But check this out. This is multi-shot prompting. Multi-shot prompting is basically just giving examples of how you want the AI to respond. It says, please complete the conversation by writing the next line speaking as A. So here's the question. Is tooth fairy real? Here's the example. Of course, sweetie. Wrap up your tooth and put it under your pillow tonight. Blah, blah, blah. Question. Same question. Will Santa bring me presents on Christmas? Now look at the output. Yes, of course, Santa will bring you presents on Christmas. He knows you've been a good child this year. That's the
Wow.
difference in knowing how to prompt. And just go through this exercise. Join communities, join our community, whatever it may be. Just learn how to prompt. That's the most important thing. And then when it comes to working with an AI model, you're very good. Like, for example, if I say, write me a paragraph on how AI will change Hollywood. And I'm going to say right here, I'm going to say, first, write some facts in a brainstorm tag, then provide your output. So this right here is going to help basically the prompt have less hallucination. And in AI, hallucination is a thing. Like, maybe you won't have the right output, or maybe it's wrong, but you can help prompt and have the AI actually go do some brainstorming first. And then based on that brainstorming, write the output, and you're less likely to have hallucination.
Wow.
So go prompt. I mean, learn to prompt.
So, couple quick things on that, because I just heard you say something that might make everybody feel better, that you can actually tell AI with that Santa Claus example how you want it to. So you could actually have an AI in effect work for you and do as it's told, which is interesting. Nobody ever thought about that. Everybody thinks that AI just like stomps us every time it answers a question. So I love the idea of partnering with it and working together on a project. It can be like an employee or a partner. Question: with the advent of a lot of, counter security based programs that like can identify and take you out of an algorithm opportunity that something is AI, does AI now have the capability of giving you something you could copy and paste that won't be recognized as AI?
I mean, just faking, making it human. Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, I'm just saying, like, why, based on our conversation, why couldn't I say, write me this information and make sure that it was undetectable as AI?
Yeah. I mean, you would need to run it through a few tools. There are
Right.
hacks for that, but like ChatGPT, straight from ChatGPT, you're most likely going to get caught. I mean, if you're trying to pass your, test in university and you're trying to write your paper by AI, most likely it's going to get caught.
But that's coming, isn't it?
Well, you could do it now. I don't know the actual tools, but you can run it through other AI models, and those AI models are going to help humanize it.
Right.
And then it's not going to be AI created. But to bring this back to business, because that's my concern, right? My concern was like, okay, I have a real estate website. It sits at the top of Google. If I do AI generated content, is that eventually going to flag me? Are they going to know it's AI? And the consensus being right now is Google does not care as long as it's valuable.
Right.
And that's all that matters. And at the end of the day, isn't that what matters? Being human, if we are humans, value, like, provide so much value that people feel guilty that they're not using your service. Value first.
Yeah. And that being said, this global potential concern that people have for AI, if it's adding value to people's lives, how could that be a bad thing? You know what I mean? Super cool, man. I just love this conversation, and thanks so much for spending this time with us. I know you got a busy schedule.
Absolutely.
But just a couple of things that I will, direct everybody to do, because this is, what I do is, think about all the time you're wasting on just checking out reels. I don't want to take that away from you, but I mean, when you watch, the AI Surfer Reels, each time, even if you don't take action on it, you're going to learn something that exists that you didn't know, that is like super cool and very high probability of being a game changer for you. So consume his stuff. And he introduced me to, the concept of this community that he has. And if you're looking to just play small, medium, or large, definitely check out. It'll be in the notes. And I'm a huge advocate of this. Check out his community, because not only will you get access to everything that he has and always have your finger on the pulse, but you'll be able to communicate with all these people that are jazzed up and
Yeah.
collaborating with one another. So anything else you want people to know about you?
No, I think you did it, man. I
content?
mean, the community is the best thing. It's like,
Yeah.
from what I've noticed in a community is when you learn something, you share it. So that's a win for you because it's better to learn that way. But also when you share it, you inspire other people. And then it's this roundabout thing that happens in the community. And it's just constantly lights going off for people's businesses. And it's just like an amazing energy that happens when you surround yourself with like-minded people that are all trying to figure it out. And that's why the AI Surfer is here. We're all trying to learn how to ride the wave because none of us want to get crushed. We want to learn how to leverage these tools to better our business and life.
I love that, man. Genius branding. If I die and come back to life and you're not around, I'm going to come up with that branding. So, what he just said is very, very well positioned for how I typically end our shows. And I always say, if you learn something today, give it away, because that's how it's going to stay. And it's the most fun way to play.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow. Look at you, man.
there you go, man. And that was not AI generated, right? But wouldn't it
Well, unless you're AI.
well, wouldn't it be a hoot right now if all of a sudden you just saw me fucking glitch out and then we ended the show. Thanks so much for being here, my brother. Just
Sure,
what
man.
you're doing is super cool, and what makes you, somebody that I very much resonate with is I love your mind, I love your heart, your passion, but I love the fact that it's obvious that what you really want to do is enhance everybody else's lives with what you learn.
Yeah.
So I will definitely be forever following you and
Good.
in support of you. Thanks for being here, my brother.
Thank you, man.
Makes sense.